Need your daily fix on mixed martial arts?
We're going to kind of recap Bellator 155.
From UFC 198.
Who's who?
Kind of a controversial decision.
And who's not?
I couldn't figure out why, and then it hit me.
Well, don't you fret, because Golden State Media Concepts got you covered. Get your daily dose of MMA podcasts. Everything from the UFC, Bellator Fighting Championships, Extreme Cage Fighting, Invicta Fighting Championships, and so much more. Join us as we talk about some of the biggest names in mixed martial arts. We've got you covered here on Golden State Media Concepts MMA Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC MMA Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Donald Cerrone, and hopefully you are doing well for yourself. You, your friends, your family, whether you live in the States or internationally, I hope you're doing fine for yourself no matter where you are. I don't know, you can be in Africa, you can be in the Middle East, you can be in the States here in America. Hopefully you're doing awesome. Wash your hands. Stay safe, be positive, be optimistic, as we are almost done dealing with the year of 2020. So I try my best to be optimistic during these really dark times with everything going on nowadays, though. And so one thing I do like coming up as we're nearing the end of 2020 is the fact that sports, in the general sense, is back again. Like, there was a watch party that one of my friends had to go watch the Dallas Cowboys against the LA Rams for their opening kickoff night. So, and not only that, when I was, like, I usually do my nightly walk. So usually at nighttime, I end up doing a walk. And I always go, and I can hear people, and I can see, watch groups watching football. And so, people coming together to go watch sports again, it's happening again. It is. And only that, I think I read up a random report coming in. I used in the California area, my area in the Anaheim zone, or Pasadena, is the fact that we currently have, there's a threat going on that there could be people throwing out college parties, because we got UCI, we got UCLA, even colleges like UC Santa Barbara and UC San Diego, which are, like, known for being heavy party schools, or for at least being schools where there are a lot of, like, international students that are hanging out. And so, people coming together thing pretty much being a normal thing. It really is. I was walking around the UCI area. Not exactly UCI, but next to UCI is this gigantic mall. And in that mall, oh my goodness, a lot of people. I just went there to go pick up food. And then, if you went there, it looks like completely normal. It's like people even know there actually was a virus even happening. Yeah, people were still wearing the mask and stuff, but everything in the mall was perfectly fine and normal. And I got another friend telling me the normal's perfectly is the malls are just where the ice that they're going to is all normal. So yeah, 2020, it's getting a little bit more, concise. We understand what's happening. Everything's getting a lot more better. And one thing that was really great, at least for the world of UFC, the world of sports, was the fact that UFC Fight Night Waterson vs. Hill was a stellar fight. Thank goodness this fight went to the main event. So I'll be talking about Michelle Waterson vs. Angela Hill, a fight that is very controversial for two fighters that just came off two other very controversial fights. So Michelle Waterson ended up defeating Angela Hill via split decision, and I'll give you the fight stats here quickly. So, in terms of total strike percentages here, Michelle Waterson landed 162 out of 361 total strikes, 45%. In terms of significant strikes, 128, 324, 40%. And Michelle Waterson landed 1 out of 18 takedowns. 1 out of 18. Angela Hill did an awesome job defending the takedown. She only got really taken down once in this entire fight, and which was in the third round. And the third round was obviously a round to which Angela Hill lost. But really good job by Angela Hill. Contrary to what her record says, her record right now is 12-9. She's a stellar fighter. She can compete with anybody outside the top 10, outside the top 5 of the women's strawweight division. So we compare Michelle Waterson's 162 out of 361 compared to Angela Hill's 146 out of 278, which is 52.5%, and then her significant strikes being 131 out of 261 strikes. So in the grand scheme of things there, who landed more strikes? Michelle Waterson. She landed more total strikes. I say I say even from this eye test, Angela Hill landed more impactful shots than Michelle Waterson. And then look at the fight stats here. First round, interesting. So first round and second round, Angela Hill defeated Michelle Waterson based off both the eye test and the fight stats. Alright then. Third round, which is the most disparagingly different round out of every fight here, in that the third round was where they landed where there was the least amount of action happening, but was the biggest W for Michelle Waterson. Because Michelle Waterson was able, at the halfway point of that fight, of the third round, was able to go a takedown in, and she pretty much worked Angela Hill throughout the entire time. Angela Hill did give an illegal upkick, which sucks, but Michelle Waterson, she eat it. And then the fourth round, I'm just going based off fight statistics here. So, third and fourth round are the only two rounds Michelle Waterson statistically defeated Angela Hill. From the eye test, I say Michelle Waterson defeated Angela Hill in both the third and fourth round. And if you look at the bottom end of the screen here, you see Twitter and people giving their comments to the fights. We have fighters like Aljamain Sterling, Cody Garbrandt, them saying that, you know what? It is a tight fight going into the fifth round. It was. I say Waterson won third and fourth, Angela Hill first 1 and 2. And then we get to the fifth round here. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. If you go by both fight stats and the eye test, Angela Hill should have defeated Michelle Waterson. And one reason why I believe one of the judges would go and score Michelle Waterson winning the fights was because she threw a high volume of kicks. And so there is a chance actually that because you're saying there are some judges that either underrate or overrate kicks, and that if someone were to go kick, like Michelle Waterson does a kick on Angela Hill, and Angela Hill just swipes the kick with her arm. Does that count as a hit? Does that count as a significant hit? Does it count even as a strike? Does it count as a block? Does it even count in the first place? I don't know. And the way how I saw it with Waterson and Angela, but Michelle Waterson, man, she came to that fifth round like a warrior, dude. Impressive. Really, really impressive that Michelle Waterson. You can hear, it was right before the fifth round, you can hear Michelle Waterson off screen just yelling at the tip of her tongue, yeah, let's go. And then you can also hear Michelle Waterson as she's attempting and doing strikes. She is screaming out everything while Angela Hill kept being more tired. So, Michelle Waterson and Angela Hill, the closest round they ever had was without a doubt the fifth and final round. I say Angela Hill won the fifth round. That's what I'm saying. The fight stats say Angela Hill won the fifth round. You know what? The judges, they scored it differently. And Angela Hill pretty much gave the same reaction to when she lost to Claudia Cadella, where she was like, what? What the heck, man? Oh, man, it's BS. It's totally just not happy. Really believe she won the fight. There are a lot of people who believe that she did in fact win the fight. I believe that Angela Hill won the fights. But it didn't work out that way. Sadly, it did not work out that way. And so, Michelle Waterson, she was able to go and pull off the victory. And surprisingly enough, there are a lot of people that... So when I was looking at the fight predictions here, the predictions were, if Michelle Waterson can't grapple with Angela Hill by the late end of the fight here, by third, fourth, fifth round, then Angela Hill's winning. And Angela Hill was a great striker, but in the fifth round, one could argue that Michelle Waterson was just a little bit more of a dynamic striker, that it just looks more appealing for Michelle Waterson to go in. And that to me, there is logical sense. It's not like, okay, so the Claudia Cadella fight versus Angela Hill, I was just straight up no, Hill should have won that, no matter what, dude. Even Claudia Cadella is like, oh man, dude, I don't really deserve that win. I believe Hill should have defeated Claudia Cadella. Alright, that's what I believe in. In this fight, even though I'm lenient towards Angela Hill, you could toss a coin, and either woman could have won the fight. I'm happy this fight went to 5 rounds, because if it was a 3-round fight, Angela Hill would have won. Without a doubt. It's just Michelle Waterson her volume of strikes just was a lot more consistent throughout of it. And so the first and second round was Angela Hill chasing Waterson. And then the third, fourth, and fifth round was Waterson putting the pressure onto her opponent. And that's also one reason why the judges would score Michelle Waterson in the fight. Because there are judges that either overrates or underrate kicks. We also got judges that reward fighters if they're the ones who are trying to apply the pressure or the ones who are trying to dictate the pace of a fight. So those judges would score Waterson. But I believe that if you were to get a set of three completely different judges and they were to score a fight, it would be very understandable as to why Angela Hill could have won the fight. You know what? Even Dana White's, here's the thing, if there was a live crowd, without a doubt, that live crowd would have all stood up and been like, yeah, man, great, awesome fight. Even Dana White, he stood up and was like, oh man, that was a great fight. And it was a great fight. It was a stellar, fun fight. Without a doubt, the best fight of the night. And I would even argue, it is one of the best fights of the year. Very good. I always praise the women's strawweight fights. Every women's strawweight fight I've watched has been exciting, has been fun, has been controversial, and I'm happy about that. I really am. But currently, what is going on in the women's strawweight rankings here? So, Roxanne Modafferi also defeated Andrea Lee in her strawweight bouts. It's weird. Like, Roxanne Modafferi is ranked number 8 right now in the women's strawweight rankings, but she's 3-5. But she's also a huge fan favorite. Like, I love Roxanne Modafferi. Andrea Lee had her best round in the first round, where she pretty much did a judo toss onto Roxanne Modafferi. But beyond that one toss, though, Roxanne Modafferi just did better in both the grappling and the striking exchanges. So, although Andrea Lee, her best round was in the first round, even then, her first round wasn't even good enough to go secure a victory for that round. So, Roxanne Modafferi was able to go win out through just sure attrition, defeat Andrea Lee with her boxing, with her grappling ability, and pretty much overall, Roxanne Modafferi was too much of a crafty veteran. Not really crafty. I forgot that term. Crafty veteran. She was too much of a crafty veteran, and she was able to pull off and win the fight. Good for her. And really, I'm going back to the old predictions here. Modafferi versus Andrea Lee. It was a toss-up. It was. There were some people who were arguing for Lee winning the fight. There are some people arguing for Roxanne Modafferi. It was split even. And in my viewpoint, I really thought Roxanne Modafferi was the obvious favorite to go defeat Andrea Lee. At least that's how I saw it. But when it came to the predictions, a lot of people, majority, chose Angela Hill defeating Michelle Waterson. And maybe, I don't know, I'm looking at the prediction right now. Maybe some of them just didn't know about the 3 5-round shtick. And that if it was a 3-round fight, Angela Hill easily won the fight. 5-round fight, Michelle Waterson barely won it. And also, there are people who really undervalue how good of a dynamic striker Michelle Waterson is. She's a really great striker. Now, the fact that she lacks knockout power, and that she has a tendency of being very passive in her fights. And I think you're seeing this now with the women's strawweight division here, and that fighters who are competing outside the top 5, they are... Yeah, so we got fighters right now competing outside the top 5 that are fighting very recklessly. A whole lot recklessly right now. So, Claudia Cadella, she's going to be fighting against Yan Xiaonan. I can guarantee you Claudia Cadella is going to fight reckless in this fight. We got Claudia Cadella, we got Carla Esparza, we have Michelle Waterson, we have Angela Hill, we have Amanda Rivas, we got Marina Rodriguez. We got fighters who are not fighting safe at all. And the women's strawweight division is so stacked and is so busy. And you have to have an incredibly good performance in order for you to crack in the top 5. Because when you look at the top 5 here, we have Weili Zhang, Rose Namajunas, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Jessica Andrade, Tatiana Suarez. All the women competing in the women's strawweight division, they have to go above and beyond, even to the point of fighting very recklessly and putting themselves in bad position here. Because Michelle Waterson, in a recent interview, she did say that, her, Esparza, Hill, and Claudia, in all their interviews, they're saying, okay, although I am fighting the smart fights, my fights aren't impressive enough, and I am being criticized for being too much of a safe fighter. It's happened. Angela Hill was a lot more aggressive in this fight. Esparza was super reckless in her fight against Marina Rodriguez, and placed herself in really bad situations that really could have ended bad for her. We have Michelle Waterson, who typically is like a point system fighter, who fights very safe, who fights very smart, who's all about poking her opponents. Although she threw more body kicks than she did leg kicks, which is really surprising because usually you're used to like seeing Michelle Waterson go throw out leg kicks instead. And she's doing like she was even very focused in on doing clinch work, even though she was always using the clinch. She was a lot more proactive in her grappling game. She was very aggressive, which is something that you're not really used to for watching Michelle Waterson fights. She tends to be very passive. So, although right now in the Most Strike division, they are all trying to go pull out these performance of the night bonuses, and both Hill and Waterson both get both of the night bonuses. Hopefully, both fighters can go on for greener pastures to the future. You're listening to the GSMC MMA podcast. Coming back right after a short break with some more news.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And we are back. Huge shout out to the fight, Ottman Azaitar against Kama Worthy. That was a stellar fight, and specifically to showcase Ottman at the UFC Fight Night event for Michelle Waterson vs. Angela Hill. He had shot for there, to which he got a great knockout onto Kama Worthy, despite the fact that Kama Worthy has a 3-inch advantage and like a 4-inch reach. So dang, great performance there by Ottman Azaitar, and if you don't know his name, which probably you don't because he is not even ranked in the lightweight division, I'm saying right now, you gotta watch out for it. You gotta do. And so what is going on in the world of mixed martial arts? Well, sadly, I gotta bring this up. New details emerged regarding sexual assault allegations made against Conor McGregor. This is being reported in by SB Nation BloodyElbow.com. Former UFC champion Conor McGregor was arrested in Corsica, France. What is going on here? So Yahoo Sports Australia has reported new details regarding Conor McGregor's recent encounter with police in Corsica, France. The UFC lightweight and featherweight champion was reportedly taken into custody by police suspicion of attempted sexual assault and indecent exposure. McGregor's representative have vigorously denied any accusations of bad behavior on part of their clients. McGregor was shortly freed from custody and was not charged with any crime. According to Yahoo TV broadcaster France 3 Course, interviewed a friend of the alleged victim in this case. The Course told the station McGregor, accompanied by his bodyguards, allegedly exhibited his private parts to a young woman without her consent as she made her way into the bar toilets. That source also said the young woman was deeply shocked and that she was holidaying on the French island with her husband. A formal allegation against McGregor was made last Thursday. In response to that allegation, McGregor's yacht was searched by police. McGregor and his family have been docked in Corsica ahead of 180 kilometers charity water bike race McGregor planned to take part in. Chris Avramandis of Legionnaire Combat Sports News shared photos that they claimed showed local police serving McGregor with a summons. So you can go look at Chris Avramandis' Twitter. Conor McGregor being handed by summons by the French police over sexual allegations and indecent exposure for allegedly exposing himself to a young married woman after a heavy drinking session on the French island of Corsica. So the images come in from JA Photos, and you see Conor McGregor, he's just talking with SWAT officers, I think. No, that's just Conor McGregor. He's dressed as if he's a SWAT officer, really enough. It kind of matches with the police, so it's kind of awkward like that. So earlier this year, McGregor announced that he had retired from the sport of MMA. During the hiatus, New York Times reported that McGregor was suspect in 2 separate sexual assault accusations in 2019. McGregor was also arrested after an incident with a fan in Miami, which resulted in charges of robbery and criminal mischief. Those charges were dropped after McGregor and a fan reached a settlement agreement. Also in 2019, McGregor was convicted by assault after he struck a senior inside the Marble Ink pub in Dublin. And I'm gonna put this out there right now. I don't think McGregor, if he hasn't really done any actual real time up to this point, I don't think he's gonna. I think it's gonna come to him from this incident. I don't really think so. So until there is like, it's just allegations at this point. We can't really say there's an obvious evidence out there to point anything else. Watching a film, Trevor seen it. I'm shocked. So all the comments right now, they're pretty much leaning towards. Someone says this case is just weird. Allegedly exhibited his private parts to the young woman without her consent as she made her way into the bar toilets. So he just publicly showed his private parts to everyone in the club, and one woman got offended. Okay, so he probably took it down while looking at the girl. Once again, this is all alleged stuff. It's not really official. Was it in a dark club? If so, how did she know it was Connor? I honestly don't know anymore. This could just be just a money grab. Guess I'll have to wait and see the video. See, right now, there's not that much evidence to go point towards any other direction right now. This is still fairly new. So we just gotta go and wait until something new is being reported on. Tony Ferguson wants UFC. Okay, so there's already a next matchup for Ferguson versus Dustin Poirier. It's going to be at MMAJunkie.com. Tony Ferguson wants UFC Dana White to take care of Dustin Poirier for proposed fights. Pay the man. So Tony Ferguson supports Dustin Poirier in his stance to get compensated for their proposed fights. And Dana White deemed the fight dead and said the plan is to find Ferguson another opponent, but it appears Ferguson still wants the Poirier fights, urging the UFC to pay the Diamond, which is Dustin Poirier's nickname, what he's asked for and to make the fight happen. Tony Ferguson puts on his Twitter, "Here's looking at you, kid. Pay the man," at Dana White and at UFC via Twitter. "Love y'all. See, but let's give hardcore and casual fans what they deserve. A good fight, sir." And it's coming from Dustin Poirier. Tony's the type of guy who would manage his opponent and get him a new contract for the fight to happen. Obviously, like, relating to like the jokes about Tony Ferguson. Like, Tony Ferguson's the type of guy to do blank. Ferguson's coming off a fall against Justin Gaethje after falling that. So, I don't know. So, how much is Dustin Poirier? Well, how much was Dustin Poirier making right now? Because Dustin Poirier, he can make the argument in that he no, actually he can. It's fact. He is the biggest fight Khabib Nurmagomedov has ever had in terms of salary, because Khabib made twice as much money fighting against Dustin Poirier than he did fighting against Conor McGregor, which is weird. And one could say, well, that doesn't really make any much sense. It just doesn't, but that's the reality of things there. And that Khabib made more money fighting Poirier than he did fighting Conor McGregor. And so, obviously, Dustin Poirier is not a household name. I'm pretty darn sure if I were to go walk up to 100 random people and ask them, "Do you know who Conor McGregor is?" there's a very likelihood that some of them can say yes. And there's also the very other likelihood that if I go ask people, 100 random people in the streets, like 100 homeless people, "Hey, do you know who Dustin Poirier is?" Or I go to a bar or a club and ask them, "Hey, do you know who Dustin Poirier is?" I can guarantee you, maybe out of 100, 3 or maybe 5 of them is going to say, "Yeah, I know Dustin Poirier." He's one of those, like, pretend stars. I say pretend stars in that, like, his actual, like, the money that's actually been brought in versus what the reality of his actual stock is two very, very different things here. And I'm right now trying to find what was Dustin Poirier's purse upon his recent fights. Dustin Poirier, fight purse. I'm gonna take an educated guess now. It has to be okay. So Dustin Poirier, his money that he's made, and it's updated up to June 2019. Dustin Poirier career earnings here. All right. So when Dustin Poirier fought against Max Holloway, he made $330,000. $250,000 comes from just to show up, and $50,000 for Friday night bonus, and $30,000 for fight week incentive pay. And then when he fought against... Okay, so I'm looking at all the fights he's had right now so far. For the most part in his career, in terms of show money, he typically makes an average $200,000. I'd say that, and even then, that's very stretching it. Probably like $150,000. So he makes like I'm okay. So this part right now, he's a bigger name now, but not really. Let's give him due diligence. Let's say he averages. I'm looking now. $200,000 to show. All right then. So he made $250,000 to show up for Holloway, $250,000 to show up and fight Khabib. And really enough, he made $150,000 less just to show for his fight against Dan Hooker, which was a UFC Fight Night Fights. But he was able to double that with a win bonus. Interesting. So really enough, okay. So Dustin Poirier's biggest fight in the sense of like his economics, the biggest fight he's ever had. He made money for was against Dan Hooker. It was not against Max Holloway. It was not against Eddie Alvarez. It was not against Max Holloway. It wasn't. The biggest fight of Poirier's career was against Dan Hooker, to which he made $100,000 less in terms of show money. So if you're to fight against Max Holloway and McGregor, so Max Holloway fights, he made $330,000. The grand total show, fight bonus, fight week incentive. If it were to be booked impromptu, okay. So without fight camp, they have like 2.5 weeks prep time. You can give maybe $20,000 in terms of fight week incentive pay. And this event here is going to be a UFC, it's not going to be a UFC Fight Night event. It might be an actual numbered UFC event. So if it's a numbered UFC event, and when you look at all the money that Poirier made in terms of numbered UFC events, his past two is $250,000. I'm not checking it. So if it's a Fight Night event or a... okay, so it's going to be a Fight Night event at UFC 254 in Abu Dhabi, Fight Island. Alright then. So, bare minimum, he should be making $250,000 just to show up. That's how it should be. And then I think what Poirier is doing is that he's arguing, okay, I should be making $300,000 for show. $300,000 for show, and I'll double that if I get the win bonus. And if he were to win, and it'll probably be a 5-to-9 bonus, he'll probably get, he can make upwards of $675,000 off one fight. Great, ain't it? Great. His potential earnings is almost $700,000. Sounds great, right? But right now, how I look at things, the most money he can actually make would probably be around $450,000. I'm gonna go with that. I'm just going off like if you were to round up and so yeah. I think that's really good money for him, at least for Poirier's sense. He's been making more and more money in his past five fights. He made from $200,000 to $400,000, $240,000 to $250,000 to $330,000 to $290,000 to $370,000. I think right now where Dustin Poirier is currently in his career, to which he has contemplated retirement. He has. He wants to end off with big money pay, and he wants a $50,000 bonus towards his show. And he could probably end off with $450,000 as the money that he'll be making in a fight against Ferguson. Yeah, I think that's right. I think Poirier is going to aim for about $500,000. That's my say. Now, does he deserve that money? I think. Okay, so Dustin Poirier is as valuable as what his contract deems him to be, and based on his current contract with how it is measured right now, if at the bare minimum, or probably average, he'll be making $300,000. That seems fine. I think he wants to aim for the $500,000 mark, but that's $500,000 if you were to like win, for showing up, for Fight Night bonuses, for Fight of the Week incentive pay also. and like performance of the night. So he can definitely make that money right now. I think Dustin Poirier is going to agree to it, because right now, the way how I'm seeing it, I don't think there's any fighter other than Conor McGregor who I can go see. Well, no. Okay, so for Dustin Poirier's, from Dustin Poirier's agent perspective, Dustin Poirier, Tony Ferguson is the third biggest or fourth biggest draw, depending on who you talk to, in the lightweight division. All right, then we can all agree to that. So, and Ferguson made a whole lot of money in his like last recent fights. So, if I was Poirier, I would accept the money deal. I would try, if I could possibly, bump my salary up by $50,000 for the win bonus. So instead of making $300,000, I could be potentially making $500,000 if I were to go win my fight against Ferguson. And considering that Dustin Poirier and his recent performances have looked really awesome, looked really well. Yeah, I think it's really good for Ferguson to go bump himself. Good for Poirier to bump himself up around $50K. Now Tony Ferguson, though, that guy is crazy. Okay, he's making his money. He knows his value. He knows his worth. I just want to see Ferguson Poirier go at it. Another fight. It probably would win fight of the night, and it's a fight of the year contender. And when will the fight be in? So it'll be at UFC 254. Maybe 254. So it'll be 254 right now. UFC 253 is coming up, and so he's going to have a. So both Ferguson and Poirier are going to have 4 weeks to prep up for their big fight in the UFC pay-per-view. So yeah, you're getting a bonus incentive, man. Come on. Accept the fight. Make some money. So once again, you're listening to the GSMC MMA podcast. Coming back right after this short break here. See you soon.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And we are back. And so I try my best to avoid political news here, but this also technically counts as MMA news. It's very bizarre and strange. So this is coming in by MMAfighting.com. Donald Trump shouts out Dana White, Colby Covington, and UFC fighters attending Nevada rally. This is being written by MMA Fighting Newswire, and the UFC definitely has a fan in President Donald Trump. On Sunday, Trump held an indoor rally in Henderson, Nevada, as part of his 2020 re-election campaign, and he noted several special guests in attendance, including UFC President Dana White, and several fighters sitting alongside him. He is so smart, so tough, so cunning, Trump said about White during the rally. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. I've been a friend of his. He also loves his fighters. He wants to take care of his fighters, and he brought some of them along the very best. Trump then went on to pay homage to the fighters in attendance, which included Colby Covington, Henry Cejudo, and Justin Gaethje, while also promoting some of their upcoming fights. In fact, in a separate backstage video, Trump promised to watch the upcoming UFC Vegas 11 card, where Colby Covington will compete in the main event against Tyron Woodley. It's still bizarre that those two are finally going to fight when both of their stocks are down, and it's going to be a fight night event and not a pay-per-view. Whatever. I'm going to be watching Colby. I'm a big fan of Colby, Trump said in a video posted in Covington's Instagram. He is a winner, he is a champ, and it's going to be a great evening and a great fight. I wish him the best of luck. I've just seen him a lot, and he is tough. Good luck, champ. And I see Covington here, and based off what I'm looking at right now, dude, he looks so tense. Okay, whether or not you like the guy, dude, okay. So this is coming in from Colby Covington's Instagram, and it says, at Real Donald Trump will be tuned into at ESPN to watch me at hashtag UFC Vegas 11 this Saturday. Now, how about you snowflakes? Alright. It's so weird because if you just look at the body language, okay, so Colby Covington, he's wearing this like very ill-fitting, I can't tell if that's orange or that's like brown. I don't know what that is. But it is weird like bronzy looking color, and his white shirt is a little bit tucked out. He looks uncomfortable. He's wearing the MAGA hat, which doesn't fit well with his suit. He's not wearing the sunglasses. He can't really even give the president an eye contact. And it's right in the end of the video. These two shake hands. So I see Donald Trump. He's cutting his promo. I'm like, we should watch the fight. And then he sees Covington. They give a very weak looking handshake, and then Covington looks like he's about to just bail out. That is weird. It's a weird, silly video. Trump then noted Henry Cejudo as a 2-division UFC champion, while also mentioning Justin Gaethje's upcoming fight against reigning lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov. He said he's going to knock him out. Trump said when acknowledging Gaethje from the stage, "Well, we're going to be watching. It's right before the election, but I think I'm going to be watching it, okay? I'll be watching. You better believe it. It's going to be an incredible fight." Oh, man. It's so bizarre. So I'm looking at Khabib's manager's Instagram where he's posting it. He says, "I had a great honor today to meet the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you for the kind words, Mr. President. Also, thank you for Dana White for the introduction. Of course, White has been a long-time supporter of Trump while giving speeches for him at the Republican National Convention in both 2016 and again 2020. Covington also has gone out of his way to show constant support for Trump ahead of his fights, and he even got to visit the White House where he met the president after his 2018 win over Rafael dos Anjos, RDA." If you have, okay, so even if you don't like the guy, dude, just watch it out of like how weird it is. Very, very weird. Yeah, so there's more news popping out for Conor McGregor. He's talking to police, but he's not getting arrested or anything and all that. So this is coming in by ESPN. We got a story or is it a discussion? UFC will or not. Colby Covington gets a title shot with win against Tyron Woodley. Okay. Let me look at the rankings here, man. Who is in front of him? Obviously, Gilbert Burns is right up next. That's just guaranteed, man. Covington is not going to bypass, because I'm going to be like really honest with you. Gilbert Burns versus Colby Covington, man. It's not a fight that I myself would be hyped up for. I've said it in this podcast. I do not like the fight. I did not like Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman, in that we had two wrestlers attempt to be boxers, and neither of them has knockout power. So just them trading jabs. Not a fan of it. Really, I'm not. And so, Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns, they are set to fight each other on December 12th, 2020. Meanwhile, Colby Covington and Tyron Woodley, they'll be fighting next Saturday. What's in that card? I need to look at this. What's in that card? So, Leon Edwards, maybe? Leon? So it'll be Usman, Burns, and if it's a close fight, they get a rematch. But both Colby Covington, if Colby Covington defeats Tyron Woodley, Covington would be 11-2 compared to Leon Edwards, 10-2. But I just feel like it's just the right fight for me. How I personally view it. I think it would be a great fight to watch. Covington versus Leon Edwards. I'll place my money on Colby Covington winning that fight. But I just think it makes sense for Colby to fight against Tyron Woodley. And to be honest with you, I don't think that fight is going to be all that interesting. Not going to be all that aggressive. We're not going to see that much damage or that much volume being thrown at each other, especially from the camp of Tyron Woodley. I think Colby Covington is gonna defeat Tyron Woodley, and he's gonna walk out of the cage, pretty much with like intact. I don't think either of these fighters are going to be so badly beat up that neither of them would be available for a title fight or fight against Leon Edwards. And so, I much prefer Covington versus Leon Edwards. Covington-Leon Edwards would be a great fight. Tyron Woodley, I expect him to lose. And Jorge Masvidal is just stuck as the 5th ranked fighter after losing to Kamaru Usman. Really enough, Nate Diaz is still top rank. That's so weird. Nate Diaz is still top rank. Oh yeah, so there's rumors out there for Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal 2. That could really happen. I'm looking right now. The co-main event shouldn't lack. So we have so for the co-main event for next Saturday, it's going to be Donald Cerrone facing up against Niko Price, and I can 100% guarantee you. Oh, and also there's Khamzat Chimaev. He'll fight against Gerald Mechaert. Oh my goodness, that's so cool. Name of Johnny. Okay, so Johnny Walker fights are always exciting to watch. Actually, even though the guy, I'm not a big fan of Johnny Walker, as in I just do not see him going far. I just don't see it. He'll be fighting against Ryan Spann. That'll be a fun matchup. We have Randa Marcos against Mackenzie Dern. I'm putting a lot of stock on Mackenzie Dern, and Randa Marcos can be a very, very exciting fighter. We have Darren Stewart against Kevin Holland. Right now, every fight's in this UFC Fight Night card, I can guarantee you, will be more exciting to watch and will have more action than Tyron Woodley versus Colby Covington. I genuinely believe that. I am not the biggest hater. Okay, so it might sound like I'm a hater, like I'm just really down it. Because we have Jessica Rose Clark against Sarah Alpar, and then we also got Mara Marbrella's fighting this card, and Mursad Baktish. Oh, that's really nice. But I'm looking at this card right now. I'm just not sold on Colby Covington. I'm just not. I know the guy is known for high volume striking, but he's not really that much of a dynamic fighter. And whenever he does do the striking thing, where he's throwing out a bunch of jabs within 10 seconds. I don't know. I never got sold on Colby Covington. I never did. I never got sold on Colby Covington. Tyron Woodley, you'd never know what his actual mental headspace is or what his viewpoint is of the fight game. But oh my gosh, we got Donald Cerrone and Niko Price. I'm surprised. Well, Donald Cerrone, he wants to make money. All right, this is without doubt the biggest fight of Niko Price's career. That fight is going to be a 3-round slugfest. I wish Covington vs. Woodley was the co-main event, and we had 5 rounds of Cerrone vs. Niko Price. Ooh, man, that'd be great. That'd be fun. Unlike Covington. Here's my actual prediction of... Okay, I'll just give you a prediction right now. Colby Covington vs. Tyron Woodley. This is how the fight's going to go off. Bell rings. Woodley has one really good shot where he just leans in for a hook. But Colby Covington, he's going to pressure Woodley. Woodley's back is going to be on the cage the entire time. They ain't going to wrestle. They're not going to. Colby Covington is just going to barrage Woodley, and Woodley's just going to block it because Woodley doesn't want to deal with long-term injuries. Colby Covington is not going to deal with any major injuries because Woodley, he has this really good knockout power, but it's very predictable. If you saw his fight against Gilbert Burns, Gilbert Burns can easily spot when he's going to do it, and Colby Covington has enough of a fight IQ to spot it also. Covington ain't knocking out Woodley, and I don't think Woodley is going to even provide enough of a volume of strikes where it would make sense for him to go knock out Covington. He can knock out Covington. He can. Now, Woodley, though? I don't think so. Woodley, who's going to throw the higher volume strikes? Colby Covington. I think I remember, I think last week, there was it was Israel Adesanya who's giving his predictions on Covington versus Woodley, and he just picked Covington because Tyron Woodley has a tendency of pressuring, of dealing with pressure fighters. That's how he lost to Gilbert Burns, because for the most part here, Tyron Woodley is always walking backwards. He has a tendency of walking a little backwards for most cases here. But Covington, Woodley, that's the main event. Please move it to co-main event. Cerrone and Niko Price, gonna be an awesome fight. Comes at Chimaev against Joe Moschitz, that's gonna be an awesome fight. Johnny Walker versus Ryan Spann, that's gonna be a quickie. Mackenzie Dern versus Brandon Marcos, that'll be a really good showcase, along with Darren Stewart and Kevin Holland. So the entire card, in the grand scheme of things, the entire card is actually pretty darn fun to watch. It's a pretty darn fun card to watch. Too bad the main event is just gonna be these two dudes who are not gonna provide an exciting, who are not gonna give an exciting fight. It's just not happening. I'm being totally honest. It's not gonna be an exciting fight. It'll be bizarre. And so, speaking of bizarre, former UFC fighter, could be an older fighter, Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler is currently one half of the women's of the women's tag team championship in the field of World Wrestling Entertainment. And it's weird. I don't know. It's always weird watching Shayna Baszler, Octagon, and then Shayna, because Shayna Baszler's, I don't get, pro wrestling is weird at times, right? Then I love pro wrestling, but it gets weird where everyone in pro wrestling does this like weird level of mixed martial arts in the sense that they try to replicate it, except it's scripted. But Shayna Baszler's character is that she has more experience fighting the MMA style, and I don't get it because everyone in this show throws out like flying knee strikes, spinning back fists, punches, and kicks, and like doing like grappling and submission holds. Why the heck is Shayna Baszler shtick? Like, yeah, I am like the realest of real MMA fighting here. Even though what I'm doing actually is honestly no different from what everyone else is doing. Like, there's a wrestler now in NXT called Kyle O'Reilly. Like, every pro wrestling match Kyle O'Reilly is in, he does that thing about that jiu-jitsu fighters do, actually, where they just go on their back and they try to bait their opponent into getting onto their guard. It just happens. And Kyle O'Reilly does this thing where he always does that, and he ends up reversing it, and then he goes to, like, side control, and then he gets to back mounts, and then he tries to go for a rear naked choke, and obviously the rear naked choke just never taps at anybody, because for some reason, you slowly lose breath, as it takes you a pretty long time. It's not instantaneous in the world of pro wrestling how rear naked chokes work. Gosh darn it, man. Ugh. Pro wrestling is weird. But if you're into pro wrestling, and you're into mixed martial arts, go check out Shayna Baszler. She's a champion, whatever that's worth in the world of pro wrestling, but she's a champion. Good on her. And hopefully, she's making money. She's making money. Ronda Rousey expects to make a comeback. She says she's making more money in WWE than she is performing for the UFC. So good on them. So once again, you are listening to the GSMC MMA podcast. Come back right after a short break here with some more MMA news. See you soon.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
And we are back. And let's go through a plethora of news here. First off, this is coming in from BJPen.com. Dana White confirms he's had discussions with lightweight free agent Michael Chandler. UFC President Dana White has confirmed that he has held talks with popular free agent Michael Chandler. Fans and media members alike have been speculating on the future of Michael Chandler after it was confirmed that he'd be moving to free agency following his last Bellator fight. Now, after White had initially confirmed he'd be interested in talking to him, the UFC president has made it clear that he is a fan of the lightweight veteran. We talked to Chandler. Yeah, I like him. I like the kid. We'll see, Dana White said during a post-fight press conference this past weekend. Chandler himself has spoken about the options that are out for him. Right now, he's currently sitting at 34 years old. He's not looking for a turn. He goes on to say, Scott Coker had the opportunity to sign me 5 months ago, 6 months ago, 4 months ago, before his fight even happened. And it didn't happen. He said on MMA Fighting's What the Heck podcast, so there's not a huge time that we need to sit here and negotiate, Scott. You had the opportunity. You let me go into free agency. You said I'm not 21 years old anymore, but I just finished the best lightweight. You have on the roster besides me. I don't really understand why it needs to be any longer right now. Let me see what I'm worth. Will ONE FC offer me? What will PFL, UFC offer me? Maybe Dana White thinks I suck. Maybe ONE Championship PAO, Chatri, like maybe that trilogy with Eddie sounds cool, but we don't want to pay you that much. Maybe that's the case. I doubt it, but let me see what I am worth. There are plenty of fascinating fights out there for Chandler, regardless of which promotion he decides to sign for. Michael Chandler. So, he's definitely going to be making more money than he did in Bellator. And that's not a jab. I mean, that's not really a... because we've seen fighters who do this move of this free agency thing, and I'm supportive of it. I support fighters going out of their way, being free agents. We have a lot of fighters always complaining about fighter pay, and we've seen fighters who move from UFC to BKFC, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, who moved to Bellator, who moved to ONE Championship, and they all going to say that they make a whole lot more money. I've heard it, and I've read about it. There are interviews where they will extensively talk about that, and they say it. Even fighters with not really all that impressive records go from UFC, end up making more money going to other organizations. Knowing that, it's very probable that whoever offers Michael Chandler the biggest contract, and here's the thing, so Michael Chandler's, he had one performance that I think was the nail in the coffin as to why Scott Coker decided not to sign him. Now he's 34 years old, which isn't all that bad. Okay, so he lost to Patricio Freire, and I think right now, he lost to Patricio Freire. He defeated Benson Henderson, and Benson Henderson is an all-time great. That's a fact there. But I think right now, with how the lightweight division is pushing forward, Bellator right now is pushing towards Patricio Freire right now, and I think they don't need Michael Chandler. I don't think so. I think Bellator does not need Michael Chandler. They don't need him. They really don't. So good on him for going out of his way, and he's a free agent. He gets to go out there, make much money as he wants to. He'll probably be making more money with his new contract. Good on him. I'm just saying that he probably will start fighting at 35. There might be a similar scenario to Ben Askren, in the sense you got this really great fighter here coming in, but we're not seeing the best version of him. I was going to put that out there. We're not going to see the best version of Michael Chandler in whatever organization he fights in. And so, it's popping on my feed right now. So, this weird video popped on my feed. Name is Bayamat Nurmamat. It's from MMAfight.com. It's probably like it's trending right now. So I see these two fighters here. This one Asian guy decides to give the middle oh, dang! Woo! So, dang, no rules against that, right? So, this Asian guy decided to give the middle finger to the dude. I need to say that again. So, okay, so we've all seen it, right? Where you see two fighters, they're staring at each other, they're not really doing much, they're like throwing out jabs that have no punching power, they're mostly just used to go confuse the other opponents, but he's throwing out like these like jabs, he's moving his hands around, the other guy might be shooting in for like takedown, and then the Asian dude is like, you know what, man? Middle finger. Aha, take that. And the other dude just moved back, and is like, the pace of him bouncing around the octagon just slowed down. So the Asian dude gave the middle finger, white dude was like, wait, what's going on? And then he just gets hit with a leg kick. With a head kick knockout. Dang! It's weird. So weird. Oh my goodness. But now, it is a strategy. It is. I remember, I was part of a boxing crew one time, and one of the boxers, what they would do was that they would, to feign out their opponents, or like to psych them out, they would put both their gloves up to their eyes, and he would do like a peekaboo thing. He'd be like, look at me, peekaboo, close my eyes, peekaboo, close my eyes, peekaboo, and he would do that over and over again. But when he does the peekaboo part, he just leans in with a tough freaking jab. And I'm just like, wow, I've never seen anyone do that, actually. We've seen people do variations of it, though, where, like, Conor McGregor, what he does, like, he puts both of his hands on his back, or Ollie would do, like, the Ollie shuffle. Like, he's just doing things to purposely agitate or confuse their opponents. It happens. It does. So, Dan Lambert confirms Colby Covington training at MMA Masters. So he's not with the American Top Team. Dan Lambert, he himself is a weird guy. Tyron Woodley says Nick Diaz deserves to be a UFC Hall of Famer. Nope. Not happening. Is Nick Diaz popular? Yeah, he's all... Nick Diaz shouldn't go to the UFC Hall of Fame the same way Jamal Crawford and... Like, I'm thinking, what other fighter out there? I need to know what other player. I need to think of an athlete who is good, but their accomplishments aren't all that stellar, but they're popular, and they can be referenced a lot. Think of what any player... maybe Rasheed Wallace, but he won a championship, though, so I can't really use Rasheed Wallace right now. What's a popular player that's... Okay, so I'll be like Jamal Crawford, Stephon Marbury. I'll do that. So, Stephon Marbury and Jamal Crawford and Steve Francis, they're really good NBA players. Great NBA players, actually, if you think about it. They're in like the peak versions of them, man. Were one of the best fighters in the entire world. But their actual accomplishments are far and few between. And the way that their career ended off is such a bad downhill slope that it's hard to make an argument that Stephon Marbury, Steve Francis, or Jamal Crawford should be in the NBA Hall of Fame. And that logic applies towards Nick Diaz. Okay, who is currently in the UFC Hall of Fame, just out of sheer curiosity? UFC Hall of Fame. Honors. Alright then. UFC Hall of Fame, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay. There's the Pioneer. Okay. So Matt Serra is a UFC Hall of Famer. So they have different wings here. They have the modern wing, and then they have the Pioneers wing. So the modern wing has Rashad Evans, Michael Bisping, Ronda Rousey, Forrest Griffin, BJ Penn, and Uriah Faber. Uriah Faber is a UFC Hall of Famer? Okay, never mind then. Nick Diaz should definitely be a Hall of Famer then. If Uriah Faber can get to the UFC Hall of Fame, then Nick Diaz should also be in the UFC Hall of Fame. True. I believe in that. And that's not a dig on Uriah, kind of is, but for Uriah Faber is definitely a legend. He is a legend. Not a UFC Hall of Fame. If there was just like, mixed martial arts Hall of Fame, Strikeforce Hall of Fame, yeah, Uriah Faber, Hall of Famer. UFC Hall of Fame? That's really stretching it there. And I'm looking at the Pioneers wing right now. And Nick Diaz himself wasn't all that of a pioneer to begin with. It's really, Maurice Smith is a pioneer. Maurice Smith, dang. He probably is the most least accomplished person in the entire UFC Hall of Fame. It's like him and Matt Serra. Strange. Diego Sanchez versus Clay Guida, that's in the Fight Hall of Fame. Hughes versus Trigg 2, that's in the Hall of Fame. Weird. There's a lot of... This is weird to watch. It's so weird. Speaking of weird, we're going to the weird back end. So, this is also coming in by BJPen.com. The GOAT, the legend, the best ever, Artem Lobov, booked for return to MMA. After a brief stint as a bare knuckle fighter, Artem Lobov has been booked for return to mixed martial arts competition. Lobov, 34, spent his last 3 fights in the BKFC, picking up a pair of those close decision victories over Jason Knight and Paulie Magliani. I forgot about Paulie, but now I remember him. Gosh darn it, I don't like the fact that I remember Paulie Magliani. Before succumbing to losing to Jason Knight in his third and final BKFC bout, now the Russian star, whatever, will return to mixed martial arts action for a fight against Yao Jurin at Arena Fight 2. The bout goes down December 12 in France, where MMA was recently legalized. Lobov, who has a 14-15-1 overall record, but we all know he is 100-0 in our eyes. The GOAT, Artem Lobov. Competing in the UFC from 2015 to 2018, that he amassed a 2-5 overall record. That's a lie. He ain't 2-5. He's 5-0 in my mind. Defeating Teruto Ishihara, Chris Avila, coming up short against Ryan Hall, Cub Swanson, Michael Johnson, Andre Fili. While Lobov is mostly known for a time in the UFC Octagon and the BKFC, his biggest claim to fame was his relationship with Conor McGregor, to which him, Saul, Conor, Uriah, and TJ Dillashaw were pretty much the stars of that show, man. It was a great, wacky season. And it's probably the last Ultimate Fighter show that I watched from beginning to end that I didn't skip any episodes on. So news of Lobov's fight with Jurin follows a period of negotiation with several reputable promotions, both in MMA and vertical fighting. To be honest, I was talking to a few promotions, and I was talking about having another bare knuckle fight. I had other boxing offers, and I was talking to KSW, the promotion in Poland. Lobov told BJPen.com back in March it was getting close, and here we are about to finalize the fight when the virus hit and everything is on hold. Now, I just have to wait and see what happens. But I was close to getting a fight done with KSW, so I want to get a fight ASAP. In Jurin, Lobov will take a fighter who's 17-6. The Frenchman is riding a decision over Maxim Pokajov. How do you think Artem Lobov will do in his MMA return? Probably a loss, but you want him to win. No, of course he's winning. What are we talking about? It's Artem Lobov. The best ever. You can't doubt the GOAT. That is Artem Lobov, the man who my cousin and brother constantly make fun of. Artem Lobov, in terms of fight stance and fight posture, fights like a rock'em sock'em robot. It's hard to explain. He fights like T-Hawk from Street Fighter. If you've never seen it, go on YouTube, type up T-Hawk Street Fighter, then you'll see T-Hawk pulling off the most dumbest fighting stance you've ever seen. No, not the dumbest fighting stance in the history of both fake and real fighting. And you'll see T-Hawk stance, and then you're going to see Artem Lobov stance, where he's doing almost the same thing, but he's clenching his fists. So, let's all give it up. Put it on your calendars, people. December 12th, Artem Lobov, the legend, the man, the myth, the best ever, is making his return to the world of mixed martial arts, and I absolutely cannot wait. And I'm at the point now where I'm genuinely a huge fan of Artem Lobov now, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And that brings us to a close for today's podcast. You have been a great audience today. Thank you for listening to the GSMC MMA podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts MMA Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.